Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to the Chelsea Roar once again by me, your host, Ian Kelly. Made by the fans for the fans. And of course, I've got my right hand man on. I have many right hand men. And Alex is one of them, along with Noel. But Alex is proper Chelsea, as you all know at this stage. He is my co host. And we've got him back full time now at the moment without even knowing. It's a little bit of a reverse psychology almost is what I've done on
There you
Alex.
go.
He's ready. He's ready. We're going to do something a little bit different today, just to kind of take people's minds off, I suppose, I don't want to use the word mess, but the absolute just madness that surrounds
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea Football Club at the moment. The agenda basically is what we decided to do today was that we would pick our best ever 11 each. And then Alex had this idea to throw a little curveball in here where we would also pick our worst 11. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to pick our best 11 with 7 subs and manager. So basically best manager, best 11, worst 11, and worst subs. So we actually had a little bit of fun doing this today. And I thought it'd be something a little bit different for almost like a little game where you guys at home can actually play along and almost pick your own best 11. Write them in the comments and let us know. If you want to tweet us, we're at the Chelsea Roar. We're also on Instagram at the Chelsea Roar. We're a little bit slow on Instagram, I'm not going to lie, but Instagram is kind of one of those places where you're just basically dropping the show and the cool kind of images, graphics that we have. But Twitter, pretty active on Twitter nonstop, and we're on Facebook as well, of course, at the Chelsea Roar. If you want to email us with show suggestions, or if you want to come on the show, we have an email address, which is the chelsearoar@gmail.com. So literally, guys, I run all this thing. I'm very, very accessible, and so please continue supporting the show. We're starting to grow the Twitter fan base a little bit. The fitter twan base. I love how that works. Fitter twan base. We're live, pal. We don't do edits on this show. We don't need to. So yeah, that's going to be fun. But Alex, I suppose there is only one place to start. We are recording this as we speak on Wednesday, the 3rd of May. So this will probably drop on Friday. So you're probably looking at this on Friday evening. So guys, do remember that we don't do these like kind of little 10-minute YouTube videos like a lot of the Chelsea YouTubers. Which is fair enough. It's just not our gig. We record long podcasts here so that we can pack a lot in. What the other guys and girls do is great as well. You know what I mean? I watch it all. So shout out to all of them. But we like to get an old school podcast in here, an hour and a bit, and that's probably what you're gonna get today. So as of now, the breaking news was that apparently Roman Abramovich has decided that he doesn't want to gift Chelsea the 1.6 billion that he owes. So you've got a situation essentially where they're saying that Roman all of a sudden isn't the charitable guy that he pretended to be, and now he's coming back for his money, and because of this, it could put Chelsea out of business because the deadline of May 31st won't be extended. Simon Jordan, by the way, who I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan of, from Talksport, former Crystal Palace chairman, has actually come out and said, no, the government can absolutely extend that if they want. And there's basically throwing light on what the likes of Cave Skull and all these absolute vulture little rat people like to do over in Sky Sports, because when they don't have Liverpool to talk about, they can fill in 6 to 7 minutes and try and scaremonger the great Chelsea fans, and not only the Chelsea fans, scaremonger the people that actually work at Chelsea Football Club. So shame on Sky and all the people that are kind of getting fun out of this and running these stories, because you're literally giving people anxiety that work all around that football club. So hopefully nothing like that ever happens to Sky. Hopefully it does, actually, to be fair, because it's a network that is absolute shit. I absolutely detest everything about Sky, and I'm sure you probably agree.
Yeah, I mean, I was always a Sky guy. Hey, look at that for a rhyme. I was
So
always a
was
bit of a Sky
I.
guy growing up because I loved it. Like, and I mean, I know they obviously, we know how it all ended, but when they had Richard Keys and Andy Gray, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Roy Keane on it.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed Jamie Carragher on it. But just, I think the last 3 to 4 years, they've really just overdone it with this whole, Man City Liverpool thing. It's all the show's about. It's like, it's almost like it's a play and like they're the main two characters and everyone else is an afterthought. Like even when we won the Champions League, all the talk was still about Liverpool and City. And like that really annoyed me. And now Liverpool are going for the quadruple and they could potentially face City. They're like, oh, this is going to be the greatest Champions League thing ever. And I've seen like this whole thing. Oh, could you imagine, the two teams that are going for the Premier League title also competing in the Champions League final? I'm like, yeah, Moscow 2008, done it. It's been done already. And it's a case of,
with the
it
two
is quite
most successful
infuriating
clubs of the
because
last 20 years, by the way.
exactly. And the thing is, though, like it's always become annoying, like to the point where I've said to people, and I'll say live in here, if it's a Liverpool City Champions League final, I won't watch it just because of the punishment. And don't get me wrong, Liverpool and City, two fantastic teams, like
Absolutely.
unbelievable, two of the best
And
teams we've
and
seen in the league.
and listen, the Liverpool fan base and all that, as much as we have a little bit of banter, this isn't a knock,
Yes,
on any individual. I mean, Niall's on this show all the time. He's a Liverpool fan. I know some great City fans as well. Well, banter is banter. I get it, but Sky has
yeah,
become such a disreputable type of uh, they're almost like a version of a rag with the news that they report.
they are.
They used to be actually quite reputable in terms of their sources. Cave used to get actual sources. He was like the original Fabrizio Romano. Now they're literally, it's comedy gold. But
It
look,
is.
the story ran from the Mail today. Very strange. Obviously, Matt Law and co. Have been accused as well that this could be tactics from the Bowley side to basically put pressure on the club to kind of get this done, because they've obviously been, I mean, look, they're the most admirable, I think, out of all the bidders, in the sense that they've done the due diligence from day one. They've followed all of the protocol, and they've basically won, essentially, in my book. Now, Jim Ratcliffe comes in, who I have no problem with. I don't mind Jim Ratcliffe at all. In fact, when this went up for sale originally, I was actually kind of hoping he would come back in for the club, but he had obviously ruled himself out. Now, if you would have seen the last show that I'd done with Mark Meehan, of course, you'll have seen Mark basically say that maybe he was this mystery bidder all along, because people thought it was Pagliuca. There's some feeling now that Ratcliffe and Abramovich have almost concocted this together, whereas Ratcliffe was coming in and said, oh, well, you know what? I don't need to do all that stuff. I'll just give you 4.5 billion. And I'm going to make Chelsea the biggest thing since sliced bread. So, I mean, you've got two huge bidders. My only fear with the Ratcliffe bid is that if it is being considered, we know he's met with the Chelsea Supporters Trust. We've yet to get any feedback on how that meeting went. I'm sure we will kind of hear in the coming days how it went. But like either of these two kind of bidders, you would say, right, the future of Chelsea is probably in safe hands, especially if they're meeting those contract obligations laid out by Roman. What say you, Alex? What do you make of it all?
I think that there's pros and cons to both bids. Obviously, I really like Jim Ratcliffe kind of coming in. Somebody who is been told he's a Brexiteer, he's a Conservative MP, come in and almost essentially giving two fingers to the government and just saying, no, I'm just going to do it my way. I've got money. I'm going to do what I want. I think that there definitely are pros and cons to both of them. In the sense that the Bowley Group, I know that a friend of the show, Paul Cannaville, he's met with the Todd Bowley and he's chatted to him, and he was very impressed. And like he seems to be, throughout the whole Rain Group process, he was the one bit that had the most, I suppose, kind of structure to his plans. He had a very clear kind of roadmap of what to do. We wanted to redevelop Stamford Bridge, reinvest in the squad, the women's game, the youth game, and that's all great. No, and he does sound like a great bidder. I would be more than happy with Todd Bowley. The only slight thing that would concern me is the fact that he's part of a consortium that they were saying.
The
Or is it
Clear
the
Lake, the
capital?
Clear
The
Lake
capital,
Capital.
Clear Lake Capital. That was it.
Yeah.
They would own 66% of the club. So look, I mean, we've seen what consortiums can do. Maybe this will be different. You don't know. But then on the other hand, you've got Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who would be more or less like an Abramovich figure, who would come in and he would be the sole owner of the club and would almost make it, his own personal toy. Now, I saw somewhere he also owns Nice, so there will be that, I suppose, conflict of interest, say, in the Champions League or something. You got to imagine that.
If they got in, yeah.
Exactly. You got to imagine that if he does come in and get Chelsea, the Nice thing might take a bit of a backburner because I don't know if everybody's aware, he did try to buy Chelsea a few years ago, back around 2018, 2019. He did try and buy Chelsea.
I think at that point Roman wanted, and like, make no mistakes about it, guys and girls, like as good as Roman is, he did put the feelers out that he wanted to sell the club after the whole debacle of him not being allowed to kind of operate in the UK with Theresa May. Make of that what you will. This isn't a political show, but this was pretty much shortly after the plans for Stamford Bridge were accepted and given the go ahead, and we'd spent 4 or 5 years at Wembley. He definitely put the feelers out there to see who wanted to buy the club. Now, the two people that tried to buy the club, Todd Bowley was also one of them, which is crazy that we're here again. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe was the other, and he had offered, I think, 2.5 billion outright. Roman wanted closer to 3 or 3.5. And the rest is history, and here we are. So I know a lot of Chelsea fans have kind of been annoyed that Jim Ratcliffe is a Man United fan originally, but he also was a season ticket holder of Chelsea, which make of that what you will. Listen, these businessmen don't buy. It's like when I heard Goldstein was involved and he's a Tottenham fan as well. It's like, this doesn't matter when there's money involved with these businessmen. You'll see the loyalty switch very, very quickly.
I can jump in there. When I heard Goldstein mention, I heard he was a Tottenham fan. He was about the stadium redevelopment, and I was like, as much as we feel how we feel about Tottenham, I looked at that Tottenham stadium and was like, yeah, we'll take him.
Well, look, listen, he knows exactly what he's doing, and I think the one thing that I've been most, I suppose, in support of with the Bowley bid is the fact that they do have a track record and a proven track record of redeveloping stadia and stadiums and stuff like that. And you look at the LA Dodgers ground, like Dodger Park, I think it's called, is it, or something? Dodger Stadium. Sorry.
Yeah.
Unbelievable job that they've done there, and implementing the whole kind of crypto and different camera angles and stuff to, like, I've done a good bit of studying, as I mentioned on my last podcast, on Bowley. And when I say studying, I've been reading a lot of his dialogue in terms of his, like, not that I'm a great businessman, but I kind of understand what they're trying to talk about. Like, someone who's winging it or someone who knows what they're doing. And Todd Bowley definitely comes across as a guy who knows what he's doing, and he's a young head almost, with great vision on how sports teams and franchises and stuff like that. Because let's be real, the word franchise is used in American sports, as we know, a lot, and that's essentially what football clubs are now. You know what I mean? Man United is a franchise. I just think the most exciting part about the Bowley bit is that he would literally work to make us a franchise commercially, because I do feel that we have fallen behind in recent years, the likes of even Tottenham and Man United and Liverpool, in terms of their branding. We always knew we had the sugar daddy and Uncle Roman there to kind of just do what we wanted. I felt we didn't build on our early success that the likes of Peter Kenyon had done in the States and in Australia and even in Japan and stuff like that. So I think he has that ambition to kind of make us the biggest football brand, that it can be. And that leads me to my next point, and I'll hand it over to you, Alex. What I would say, having looked into all of this with the Clear Lake Capital stuff, they will own 60%. However, they are there to get a return on their money in the long term, not in the short term. So they have proof of funds. They were the only one out of the three that, had absolute proof of funds that it wasn't, a boy with a loan option, in terms of they weren't getting loans to fund the bid. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what it turned out. That's what Palucas was, which was a red flag. I think the Ricketts Group, which, to be fair, I had no problem with. I really didn't. Because of the fact that they'd come out and kind of spoke about the past issues that people had, and I think they've done a really good job to allay any fears. The only thing I'm glad that they were eliminated was because there seemed to be a lot of infighting as to who was going to fund what and who was going to do this and who was going to be. So just like any good family, there was infighting from the get-go. So I was like, okay.
I think that we have Martin Broughton. Was he the one that had like all the celebrities back in that?
Martin
Serena
Broughton,
Williams and Lewis Hamilton and stuff. When I
yeah.
saw that, I was like, no, we don't need that.
We really don't. And look, fair play to Serena Williams and Lewis Hamilton, but it was just, for me, it was like, nah, I don't see this. I don't even know how it got down to the final two, to be fair. I think it was probably because the Ricketts eliminated themselves and it was a British, based bid. But I don't have any fears over the Clear Lake Capital stuff, purely because they would be a big funder of it, but that's for a certain level of time. Bowley is clearly the one steering the ship here. The fact that they want to bring a director of football in that Tuchel knows and can work with and has worked with, as we know. I can't remember the guy's name now; it's gone from me. But he was with Leipzig, wasn't he? Or not Leipzig. I can't remember. But anyway, the first things he's talked about was giving, obviously, our core brand new contracts, giving Tuchel a brand new contract. So I like the idea of getting away from Abramovich style and looking to more like a Liverpool kind of model of going, right, your manager, give him his 5-year contract, let him build something with his people, with a director of football that has the same vision as him for the next 5 years, and we'll get to where we need to be. Because listen, we're actually a couple of steps ahead of where, say, Liverpool were when FSG first came in and bought them. You know what I mean? In terms of, we already have a structure there. So I don't think the process would take 5 years for us to be competing. I mean, we're pretty much not that far behind if we had the right.
And again, I go back to my point about Liverpool and City. Like, I think that had it not been for the circumstance we've had this season, with the Chilwell and Reece James injuries, the COVID crisis, the Lukaku interview, Tuchel's on burst problems. People forget, like, we were competing. We looked like nailed on favourites for that Premier League title, but unfortunately, we kind of ran out of steam. Cracks started to appear. So, I mean, I think going forward, we're definitely a show. I mean, this is Tuchel's first full season in the Premier League, and hopefully, I don't want to jinx it, although Chelsea are doing a good job of jinxing themselves. We should finish third. And that would be 2 top 4 finishes in his first couple of seasons. Like, Pep finished 4th in his first season. Klopp finished 8th in his first season. I know he got top 4 the second full season, like Tuchel is here, but like, that's the thing. He's still coming through, and I think that's a big one as well. The fact that Bowley is determined to get Tuchel inside, because as far as I'm concerned, we got the owners coming in. Tuchel's the most important man at that club for me.
Absolutely.
We're not going to get a better coach. There's not one coach in the world I would swap him for.
No. Maybe Jose. But hey,
third time's the charm, eh?
You know what I mean? Third time lucky. But look, we'll kind of wrap up on that. I still think there's hope. I think essentially the way the conversation is going here, and the way a lot of Chelsea fans feel, and for any Chelsea fans, because I know a lot of Chelsea fans are anxious. Well, I am here to appease your anxiety and get rid of it. This is why I am here, and this is why Alex is here. Basically, what you've got here is if Bowley comes in, you've got a new way of doing things, which is very, very positive and very, very different. And it has long-term sustainability and something new where we don't need to spend 100 million or 200 million on 3-4 players every season, but we have that 100 million in reserve to buy that one superstar that we may need. And if Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in, you're probably just going to get more of the same as what you've got. So it's a win-win thing, really. But I gotta be honest with you, I am Team Bowley. I
am too. I'll be honest with you, I'm Team Bowley. Even despite my concerns, I just think the fact that he's already been in, like the Jim Ratcliffe one, as nice as it sounds, he's kind of come out of left field and of nowhere. And although there is a Clear Lake Capital, look, I think Bowley's going to be running the day-to-day operations. That's what I saw. And another big thing for me is, you mentioned like Liverpool setup, it's very data-driven. He's not just going to buy players for the sake of it. Like, he's not going to go out and be like, you need a striker, Lukaku. He's going to look at everything and be like, right, let's see who we actually need to get in. So, yeah, I mean, despite my concerns about Clear Lake Capital, I think Bowley is the most logical choice.
Yeah, I think so. So what we'll do is we'll take a quick little break. And when we come back, it's going to be game time. We're going to give our best and worst 11s, I suppose, squads, really, teams, in history. You're the guest, Alec. Well, you're not really a guest anymore. You're part of the furniture. You're one of the OGs of this show. So, but I'll let you decide when we come back whether you want to start with worst or with best.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So I'll give you some time to stew on that, and see what we'll do. So.
Folks, welcome back to the second half. Despite it being the second half, we have stayed the same end. We haven't swapped sides here because I couldn't get to his place. My car was broken. He didn't want to come to my place, which is fair enough if you look around. But guys, we're going to do the best and the worst of Chelsea that we've seen. So we were saying before, right, what way am I going to go? I'm going to reveal it now. I'm going to go with the worst team first for two reasons. Because number one, I believe it ended on a high note. And number two, I put in a couple of rules I didn't tell you about for my team. So my rules for my worst team were I was only picking players that I have personally seen. I'm not going to put somebody in a worse team that I haven't seen play myself. So it's based on players that I've seen play for Chelsea. Second rule I had is no loan players. That's just for me now. I didn't like your Falcaos or your Alexander Patos. I know people that didn't really work out. They're not in there. They were loan players, whatever. I'm talking about actual signings that we made that were awful.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of went the same in terms of I didn't really have any loan players in there. Plenty of players in there that went on loan because they were shit. But no, I did do a little bit of research on. You see, I'm a stickler for watching the old black and white games, and just to give you an example, yesterday I watched both FA Cup finals over the weekend, the 1970 Leeds, the first one, and I watched the second one. So, and I mean like the full 2.5 hours of the build up so I'm kind of accustomed to watching a lot of the old stuff. And I grew up on VHS tape. Every Chelsea VHS I could find, I would have. So I'm that little bit older than you. I'm 37. So like I've been able to kind of, know enough about these particular people that I put in to at least have them either in there for the right reasons rather than just looking at what they did on paper. So, so we'll start with you then. Why don't we go with we go with your 11?
My 11. Okay, well, starting off again, folks. There's only players that I've personally seen in my time. So if there are any other players that you thought were awful, let me know in the comments. But this is just based on my own experience. I'm 30. I'll reveal my age. So started watching Chelsea in the early 2000s. So before that, we won't see any bad players. But here's what I've gone with. Okay, so in goals, I've gone with Ross Turnbull because I don't know how he was ever signed by the club.
Big Ross
Turnbull. I was going to stick Hilario in, but I didn't even put him in the squad because I actually quite like Hilario.
Right.
Okay. And then I've gone with a back four, okay?
Did you? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So you're going with a 4-4-2, are you? Or
I'm going with a 4-3-3 for both formations.
Okay.
So my back four, at right back, we've got Khaled Boularuz.
Okay.
Then next to him, we have Tal Ben Hayim.
Okay.
Beside him, we have Papa Gilabogi.
Oh.
That's a stinker. And then next to him, somebody I felt I had to put in, Baba Rahman, fellow we signed for 40 million off Augsburg and just played a few games. I can't remember him doing anything in the blue.
Nothing but misery.
Absolutely. And then, do you want me to do the full 11 or do you want me to do one of the Euro defense? Okay, then my midfield trio of disaster. On the right of midfield, right centre, we have Steve Sidwell.
Okay.
Smack bang in the middle of this awfulness is Tamiyo Bakayoko.
Okay, justified.
And beside him in midfield, just for the price tag, is Danny Drinkwater.
Okay, so that's your midfield. Weapon of mass destruction.
That's my front three of mass destruction. My front three, I'm going to start with maybe somebody people might not have expected or might not have remembered. I'm going to start the front three with Juan Cuadrado, simply because he was a pointless signing. And his signing, but the reason I put him in is on the pitch, didn't rate him much. He was only there for 6 months. The reason I have him in as well is it was his signing that got Mohamed Salah out the door at Chelsea. That was a
Madness.
big factor of him leaving the club. So for
Okay.
that, I think he was an absolute disaster of a signing.
Madness.
And yeah, I'm gonna be a bit salty with my front two. People who watch me on this show can probably guess my front two.
I'm waiting.
I'm gonna go Morata and Lukaku
Okay.
because of the heartache they've caused me.
Okay. Okay. I can see why. I can see why. Yeah, Morata. Yeah, it's kind of like the boy from sunny Spain that could have done so much more, wasn't it? Had all the potential in the world, and it's the same story. The prodigal son coming back, and not just not giving a shit, basically.
Yeah.
So steamhead, as we call him, steamhead.
I call him thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up, and constantly, and then giving out to players, for
just you see, it's this or this.
yeah. Thumbs up is a good one. You get the thumbs up from me for that 11. Did you? So you went with your 7 subs as well, yeah?
Oh yeah, I'll get to my 7 subs now. So I didn't put in the substitute goalkeeper again. I thought of Hilaria. I was like, no, I quite like him, so I'm not going to put him in. So the subs, I was having a hard time thinking of subs because like I said, no loan players. So I've just kind of put in some players here. First up, I put in Winston Bogart.
I remember the signing well. Yeah,
bit of a train wreck.
I remember it well. Yeah, massive money, £40,000 at the time, which was astronomical money. How Ken Bates signed off on that deal. Player coming from Barcelona, Dutch defender. I'd seen him with Barcelona, thinking he could be okay. But it really did not work out, and we were paying his wages for a long, long time.
That's the thing, and he refused to leave. That was the other thing.
Yeah. So that's a good shout, yeah.
Okay, next to him, but in no particular order because I haven't gone any, positional sense to the bench. I put in Adrian Mutu because of that whole farce.
See, I loved Adrian Mutu. That's one of my biggest heartbreaks. I think
the goals against Spurs.
He was a fantastic footballer, man. The free kick against Leicester City when it hit the wall and then he hit it on his left peg, bottom corner. Man, I had so much hope for that kid. But yeah, I can see what you have in it.
Next up, and look, this is actually a player I've liked at other clubs, but I've had to put him in just based on his Chelsea performance. I've had to put in Chris Sutton.
Breaks your heart, doesn't it? Because he's actually such a likable guy. I love him.
Yeah,
as a pundit.
I do too.
And at Celtic, man, he was, that Larsson Sutton partnership was top notch. Yeah. But yeah, 3 goals, 1 against Hull City in the FA Cup with a diving looping header, if I recall correctly. That looping header against Man United in the 5-0 win, October 3rd, 1999, by the way, which I watched with my cousin who was a Man United fan in his house. That was a highlight. But poor old Chris has to go in there, I think.
He does, and I mean, again, like a guy who I like, but it just didn't work.
Yeah, I get it.
And then after that, the next person I have on the bench is, I think the next 3 are kind of just unfortunate signings, because next then I have Marco Marin, because just what was the point?
Yeah, that was the German Messi from Werder Bremen.
Yeah,
right?
bloody hell. Yeah.
I only spent 5 million on him, in fairness, though.
Yeah, I only spent 5 million, but it was just a bit mad, really, wasn't it?
Very much so.
Like that was the thing. I was kind of looking like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And after that, then another player that we signed, and I actually remember having high hopes for this guy, but just never really worked out. And again, these are no loan players, so Yuri Zirkov. It's just a player who just never seemed to do anything. Just seemed to be there.
18 million Russian player who, he had decent moments. Like he could be a decent backup. You know what I mean? At times, he could play left wing. But when we had signed him, he was apparently the Russian superstar. That Abramovich, I think, personally wanted to make work, and it just like he was never going to be a Damien Duff or an Arjen Robben. But he had decent bits. He done bits, but like I could see why he would go into worst 11. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't begrudge you.
Well, that's why he's not in the 11. But if we're making a bench, I was like, look, we might as well. I need players on the bench.
Yeah.
And again, to be fair now to Chelsea, I know we have had a few stinkers. People said over the years, it was hard to build a bench. Like I got the 11, and I was like, who do I put on the bench? And
Same with
I
me.
just well made it.
Same
Yeah.
with me.
Next up, somebody who I remember when we signed him, I really liked him for like the first few months, but then I couldn't wait for him to leave the club. Was Asayer Del Orno.
Yeah, Azier. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was shocking. He was shocking.
Messi retired him that night. That night that the Barcelona came to the bridge, Messi sent that man back to Spain.
Yeah.
There's no coming back from that. And one last player I'll put in now. I remember, for some reason I remember this player, but a lot of people probably won't. He was around during the big Phil Scolari season. Mineiro.
Yes.
The Brazilian holding midfielder who made one appearance at Chelsea. He was signed in 2008, revealed in November, made one appearance and was sold to Schalke the following summer. It was just the ultimate. What was the point?
Yeah, it was a very, very pointless signing. Like a Brazilian signing for the sake of it.
Yeah. You know, I could have also put in Ricardo Quaresma for that season if I was doing loan players, but I said, look, no loan players. Just
you
that.
did say that. And in fairness, you know, that's a signing that didn't get enough, I think, opportunities either. Because he could have been a different story with Quaresma, because he was a fantastic footballer.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I love Quaresma, but look, just never worth the varsity. And then the coach.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's managing this debauchery?
Who's managing this debauchery? There's only one man I can put in to manage this debauchery. I don't know if you're going to agree or disagree. Some people have mixed feelings. The one man I put in to manage this debauchery is the one and only Andre Villas-Boas.
Mr. Squat. Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Lampard, JT, and Drogba aren't good enough to play for this team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wally.
Yeah, an actual Wally. Yeah, he was the scout man, and that was it. And I think the history of
the cones in training, that was his job.
You know, the history of this lad's legacy will show you that he's not really succeeded anywhere. After Chelsea, had a good time in Porto. I get it.
He did. Now, I remember I was excited. Again, I was excited when we got him in. I saw what he did with Porto, and I was thinking, this guy's going to revolutionize. I thought he was going to be Jose 2.0.
Yeah. No,
just an absolute.
That's a good bad squad. A good bad squad.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like well, I suppose.
Right, what's yours?
Right. I've already mentioned where I was picking mine. It was coming over the course of just my Chelsea knowledge, you know.
Yeah.
But also most of these I've actually seen play as well. So, I'm going to start with the coach on this one.
Okay.
So I went with a man that many proper old school Chelsea fans will remember from the late 70s. He was literally there for 32 games. Danny Blanchflower, 1979, 32 games, won 5, drew 8, and lost 19 with a win percentage of 16%. Yeah, the dark days. Save our bridge days almost, you know, or at least save our football. So I went with him. He's going to be managing. I went in goal. Now, I went in goal with Marco Ambrosio. He was
fair. Okay.
Yeah, he was a player that was brought in, obviously, you know, Abramovich era on a free, albeit from Chievo, I believe it was, under Ranieri, and it was an Italian signing, I think, for the sake of it, because of our heritage of, you know, and our lineage with Italian players, which I love, you know. At right back, I went with the worst number 9 in the history of Chelsea. There's a long lineup of worst number 9s, but I went with Khalid Boulahrouz as well.
Yeah, we both. You can scratch that one off the card. We both thought Khalid Boulahrouz at right back, because
I never understood
awful sign.
And the number 9 jersey.
Oh my god!
What is this like? I
thought he was a striker when I first saw him.
Oh man, and a mean-looking motherfucker, Dutch player, but just absolutely shite at football. no disrespect to you, Khaled, if you're watching, you know, I wish you nothing but happiness and success, and as I do with all of these people that I'm mentioning. Um, next in I went with 4-4-2s for both of my
Okay.
teams. I went with Winston Bogart as well.
Okay.
He's in the first lineup.
He
And
starts
I
for you.
also went with Tal Ben.
Okay, so we got 3 out of 4 so far. We agree on.
Nonsense signing from Bolton.
Desperate.
That was absolutely shit, just like his compatriot Ben Oyoun. I'm not a fan of either of them as footballers.
Yeah. The
Um,
fact that we signed him and Steve Sidwell in the same window,
oh
and Mourinho left about 2 months later, I don't blame the man.
no, this was Marina working in the background before she was really known. And you know, we'll talk about Marina on another show, but I think she's 50-50 in terms of the good that she's done versus the bad that she's done as well.
Okay.
And I think I'm being fair there.
Okay.
Left back, I actually went with Azier Del Horno
Okay, he starts for you.
because he got the horn for Messi and decided to let him do what he wanted.
Yeah.
Gets him in that game, and I just player that really was never ever going to be a decent backup to Ashley Cole. Just a shocking left back.
My only memory of him was he was in the season before Ashley Cole. He was there when Gallas was our left back.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the only thing I actually remember him was I think he scored against Tottenham, if I'm not mistaken, at the Lane.
He did.
But the only other memory I have of him is that game against Barcelona when Messi was on the ball. And then Horner just run it and just jumped into him like with his full body.
And I remember at the time giving out about it, calling Messi a diver, but it was like,
yeah,
the guy was muck. Right wing, I went with a player that you've already mentioned as well, Marco Marin.
Mm-hmm.
So we can scratch that one as well. Just absolutely nonsensical signing. Never happened.
We don't need to
Never
talk about
it.
Much. It'd be as pointless as his signing was.
You know, and the funny thing is, he had a really nice little likable head about him that I was I was rooting for him, but just never happened.
He reminds you a bit of like Michael Cera or something.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's the actor, isn't it?
Or who? What's your man? That blonde fellow. Was it Jay from The Inbetweeners?
But you remember your man from Road Trip, or Freddie Got Fingered? He was like one of the little short guy with the kind of big nose. He was actually not that. I can't say much about noses, but I have a big head. He was just a small little fella. Timo Bakayoko in central midfield.
Has to be, man.
Yeah. And I went with Danny Drinkwater as well. Just
okay, yeah. So very similar midfield.
Nonsensical signing. Now here's one that people are gonna. This is gonna be a throwback for the '90s fans. I went with Gabriele Ambrosetti, who was signed from Vicenza after his performance in the cup final, in the Cup Winners' Cup final. Chelsea decided to sign him because they thought he was pretty good. Now it was a low fee, but the guy just did not settle in London, you know. And I felt bad for him because he scored a couple of nice goals for Chelsea. Not as good as Bjarne Goldbeck, if anyone remembers him, by the way. But he was a it just didn't work out. He was kind of that Italian player that just did not fit the culture of the club and always looked kind of out of his depth. So I went with him. And then up front, I went with Matej Kezman.
Matej Kezman, okay, yeah. It was a toss between him and Mutu for me.
Yeah, I mean, Mutu had more success than Kezman because he scored a couple of belters and it was cocaine that got him in trouble.
The only reason I kept Kezman in was because of the cup final goal against Liverpool.
Yeah, I kept
them out. We even kept them out.
I get that, but Mutu scored against Tottenham. So
fair.
And then I went with Claudio Pizarro.
I forgot about Pizarro. He's somebody I completely forgot about.
Pizarro done absolutely nothing in a Chelsea shirt.
Scored in his debut against Birmingham.
Scored his debut, a left foot long ranger. It was one of those kind of slow goals that went in past the keeper, but just did not work. And yet he was an absolute goal machine in Germany.
Yeah. For Munich, wasn't it?
Munich, yeah. And I think he played for Wolfsburg as well. Wolfsburg.
I remember, I remember now. He's a player. I couldn't for the life of me remember. I was going through the team. Now that you've said Pizarro, yep, he
Yeah.
deserves an any worse 11. He was desperate.
Yeah, absolutely desperate. Free signing now, in fairness, but still, those free signings Marina made were just absolutely shocking.
And that was the same window again as Benaim and Silva. The only saving grace of that window was Florent Malouda.
Yeah, he eventually grew into himself. He was fantastic under Carlo Ancelotti.
Yes.
I went with my bench. I went old school here, so I picked the goalkeeper, and it is Ross Turnbull.
There you go.
So
it has to be. It has to be.
I went. Now you're going to be surprised by this one, but just purely because I think he was such a bad player, bar one game.
Okay.
Unibrow himself, Jose Bosingwa.
No, I get Bosingwa. I understand that.
Yeah,
and also, I think Bosingwa gets an honourable mention in the squad anyway because of trying to take over that Champions League trophy presentation.
Exactly. You know what I mean? I didn't like his character. Didn't ever buy into him as proper Chelsea or anything like that. Just a lad I didn't like, but done a job in the final without a doubt. But it was probably his only game that I could read. I know he scored a couple of mad goals and stuff like that, but I just sort that unibrow at me.
He also booed Benayoun in the corner at Anfield. They were fighting for the corner, just booed him in the side.
Yeah. It's just I never got into him.
He wasn't a very likable character.
No. I went with Baba Rahman as well. Again, just a sign that was nonsensical to me. I don't know what it was, whether it was PR or what, but it certainly wasn't the player that Jose needed at that time. And we always struggled with left backs, really, in terms of deputy left backs. As much as strikers, to be fair, during the 2000s, I would probably dare say.
I think so, yeah.
Romelu Lukaku is in there. Fuck that guy. That's all.
Absolutely, and the fact that he cost what he cost too.
Yeah, I have nothing but discontent or resentment for him. And
if he had been struggling, like say a Torres or a Werner, but putting in the shift and whatever, it's the attitude, and that's what does it. It's the attitude.
It's the interview as well.
That's
it. Went downhill after the interview. He's just an absolute jabroni, and
he is.
I have no time for him at all. Number 6 on the bench. I went with Franco Di Santo.
Franco Di Santo, he was somebody I debated putting in the team myself now.
Yeah, never worked out. And then I finished with Chris Sutton. Then I went, unfortunately.
No problem.
I picked Chris over Morata purely just because Morata did have a lot of great moments, but again, his attitude got in the way of his success.
Yeah, that's why he's in my starting 11.
Yeah, and that's
I think I gave this because I was doing the team. I was thinking about putting the Santa win, but I gave him a pass since how young he was.
Yeah. I think it was just
that was the only
Chris.
thing.
Unfortunately, was Chris was my big signing, 10 million back then. He was going to be the guy. So
absolutely.
Let's
get. Do you remember? I know we mentioned Scolari there for a second before we go off the worst team. Do you remember Scolari as the coach and his substitutes? Maybe 1-0 down or something, and his substitutions he'd be bringing on Franco Di Santo and Mario Stock.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the last fella because he nearly got into my worst. But
again, he got a pass because of how young he was.
Yeah. Well, then why don't you go with your best?
You want me to go first, the best as well?
Yeah,
okay.
Of course, man.
I think that somebody's might be similar now. I've gone 4-3-3 again, okay?
Right.
So in goals, it has to be Petr Cech. There's nobody else I can put in goals.
Yeah.
Right back was a toy toss, not gonna lie, between two men. One of them made the bench, one of them made the thing, but it's just one I have to go to. I know
we've had our differences. Isn't it?
It's not, it's Azpilicueta.
Okay.
I've gone Azpilicueta just because I know the last couple of seasons he's been a bit he's played all along that back four, and the fact that he is the one Chelsea player to win everything. He's won everything. So I think I have to put him in. And also, I'm a big Azpilicueta guy. I've been a fan of him. And from a very selfish personal point of view, all the games that I've been to, he's actually the top scorer. He scored the most goals in Chelsea games that I've been to. So there's a little fun bit of trivia.
That's fair.
My centre back pairing, is a centre back pair that I don't think any striker's going to want to mess with. I've gone with JT and Chopper Harris.
Oh,
I
yes.
don't think anyone's messing with that.
Yes.
Left back, Ashley Cole.
Yeah.
And then my midfield, I've gone with a midfield three. Two of these players are much of a muchness, but I think, though, you're not conceding the goal because the 2 6s, I've got Claude Makalele and N'Golo Kante.
Oh, nice.
And just ahead of them, I've got Frank Lampard.
Nice. Nice.
And then my front three from right side, middle, and then left, I've gone with Gianfranco Zola. Up front, I've got Didier Drogba. And then out on the left, I had to go with Eden Hazard, man. I just love Eden Hazard. There's no two ways about it.
He's the GOAT, man. He's the GOAT.
He is, man. And then my bench, I'm really happy with the bench. Couple of a few players from a few different eras, so might like this. So on the bench for sub goalkeeper, I've gone with Peter Benetti.
Okay.
Then my 2 defenders on the bench, I've got with Ivanovic because, like I said, that was a toning cost.
Yeah, I knew that.
Also on the bench, just missing out, I've got Ricardo Carvalho.
Okay.
I've also gone with Michael Essien because I love Michael Essien at Chelsea, an absolute bulldozer of a player.
Yeah.
Next to him, Bo is a player, and I kind of cheated with this because of a coach as well. I've gone with Roberto Di Matteo because I love Di Matteo, man. Absolutely love the guy.
Love him. Love him. Love
the man.
Roberto Di Matteo.
And then 2 strikers left on the bench. I've gone with Peter Osgood. And then my last player on the bench, even though it wasn't a good time for Chelsea, I think he deserves to be in. I've gone with Kerry Dixon.
How could you know?
I have to go Kerry Dixon. And there's only one man that can coach this team. I know we waxed lyrical about Tuchel, but the only man that can coach this team for me is Jose Mourinho.
Okay. I love it.
Prime Jose Mourinho, the first Jose when he first came to Chelsea. That man was everything.
Well, the second coming wasn't too bad either. Still
wasn't too bad, but just that original Jose with the special one and, you know, the jet black hair, just everything about him. What a guy.
Sexy beast.
So that'd be my best ever squad with manager.
That's a great pick, man. Yeah, I can't argue with it. I can't argue with it. I've went with a 4-4-2, obviously, as I said earlier. You can tell the generations, can't you? Like 4-4-2 was what I grew up with.
God, old school, no nonsense.
With the 4-3-3. My manager, I'm going to say straight away, is also Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, has to be, man.
It's just Jose. My goalkeeper is the greatest goalkeeper in history. It's Peter Cech.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
My right back might surprise you a little bit, but I think that my reasons for this pick is because he was very underrated and also really helped start, you know, what Roman built, and that's Paulo Ferreira.
Okay, I'd accept Paulo. I think a bit of an unsung hero in that Chelsea team.
And he's proper Chelsea as well. I mean, the man was at the club until recently.
Yeah.
This might surprise you, the centre-back pairing. Okay. I've obviously went with JT.
Yes.
But I've went with his mentor, Marcel Desailly.
Marcel Desailly was a man who very nearly made the squad for me too. It was a toss-up between him and Carvalho.
What he did for our club, coming off the back of a World Cup and signing, for basically next to nothing, while selling Michael Dewberry for more.
Yeah,
it was a stroke of genius by Ken Bates and Colin Hutchinson.
I would argue that Marcel Desailly was almost the original Thiago Silva for us.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. And he was there and he mentored, the likes of JT. Like when him and LeBouf were playing as a partnership, they were fantastic. They both won the World Cup for France as well. LeBouf is another player who was very, very underrated. One of the best 60-yard Rangers passers that I've ever seen. LeBouf, one of the best
expert too.
Penalty expert. So Marcel Desailly, and also scored the equalising goal against Liverpool, as we recall.
That game that basically kept the club alive. No, I mean, Marcel Desailly, he very nearly got in. And I was going with Chopper Harris because, most appearances, him and JT are best ever captains. But the reason I went with Carvalho on the bench over Desailly was literally just because him and JT, that 15 goals conceded season, I couldn't look past it.
Yeah. And left back, I mean, you can probably guess, can't you?
I'm gonna guess we were along the same lines with it.
Yeah, Ashley Cole.
You can't beat
Yeah,
Ashley.
over there.
Can't beat him.
Yeah. Now, my my midfield is pretty good because my two wingers will interchange and be able to do what they want.
Okay.
On the right hand side, I've got Gianfranco Zola because he was a free.
Same as myself.
Zola was a free role player that could just do whatever you wanted from him at any time you wanted. And on the left, of course, I went with Eden Hazard. Good Lord, that's a that's a winger partnership that not many people want to come up against. And then in my two-man midfield, I went with Super Frank.
Yeah.
Obviously. But I went with the second best captain in Chelsea history, in my opinion.
Okay.
Dennis Wise.
Dennis Wise, yeah, fair. Accept Dennis Wise.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Now, some could argue, some old school fans will say, like, Chopper is probably the second greatest captain. I get that, but I grew up with Dennis Wise. So,
of course.
That's
and he was proper Chelsea still.
Oh, man. Still is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know why
absolutely.
There's not more association with Dennis Wise back at the club, but I know he's there a lot. And, you know, he, without a shadow of a doubt, he is a proper legend. And you're going to be very interested in my front two.
Okay.
This is a front two that nobody would fuck with. Nobody. It is two kings, one the African king and one the king of Stamford Bridge. I've given it away. It is Peter Osgood and Didier Drogba. And when I said I've been watching, and I've always done it, but recently I've been watching full games with Osgood. Good Lord. 60, 70 games a year on the worst pitches you've ever seen, in the worst weather. The man just stepped up. You know what I mean? Just, yeah. So it's Osgood and Drogba. Like,
that's fair. The two kings.
And then Zola and Eden Hazard, you know, firing those guys up. Forget about it.
Absolutely. Nah, can't go wrong with that. I think no, can't argue with that, man. Even though we went for different teams, I can't argue with you.
Yeah. My subs, I've obviously went with the cat, Peter Bonetti.
Yeah.
I've also went with, this was a late substitution. I had Ivanovic on my bench, and then I subbed him in for Chopper Harris, a man that I've met and fucking absolutely love. And if Chopper ever sees this, thank you very much for what you've done for me and my dad over at the bridge that day. That was fantastic. I went with Claude Makelele next. I've also went with one of my first heroes for Chelsea Football Club, who I loved almost as much as Zola, if not more, just because he was a lot more trendy and better looking guy. Was Roberto Di Matteo.
Had to be. Like, I to be honest with you, without meaning to sound smart, he's one of the first people I put in. I know he didn't start, but like, I have to have Di Matteo on the team.
I love Dimo.
And I was cheating as well, because obviously an amazing player, you know, so elegant. That goal against Middlesbrough in the cup final, but as the manager as well that won us the Champions League, like I'll never have enough nice things to say about Roberto Di Matteo.
Do you want to hear a funny little anecdote, funny little story?
Sure.
When I was a kid, obviously I used to subscribe to the Chelsea magazine, you know, Ken Bates era. And Roberto Di Matteo, a lot of people may or may not notice, he owned a restaurant in London. And you could, like, I knew it was Roberto. I'm probably a psychopath here for this. It was only like, what, 11 or 12. When I got my first mobile phone, you know the way you just ring people on your first ever mobile? You're like, I called the restaurant and asked, could I speak with Roberto Di Matteo? And it was the weirdest thing in the world. It was the second time I had tried it. And they went, oh yeah, hang on. And they said, what's your name? And I said, Ian. I play for the Chelsea U team. I swear to God, look, guys, I'm not crazy. Well, I am, but like this, I was a kid, you know what I mean? Infatuated with my heroes.
Of course.
And he got on the phone and he goes, hello.
That's incredible.
Who's this? And I said, oh, it's Ian from Ireland. I play for the U team. And he just hung up.
Amazing.
But I didn't even get worried. I didn't even get annoyed about it. I was like, I'd hang up too.
Fair. But the fact that he said hello to you, you were like, oh my God.
I got to say hello to Roberto Di Matteo.
There you go.
There you go. thanks to the old Chelsea subscription. I'd probably wasted my whole bit of credit on my Siemens mobile.
Cost about €50, but who
You
cares?
know what I mean? I'm sure I asked my dad for another 20 somehow instead of on a bill. Now this is a very, very strategic signing because a very, very important player, along with Glenn Hoddle. Glenn didn't make the cut, but what Glenn did for Chelsea really did change our trajectory forever. I went with Ruud Gullit.
Yeah, Ruud Gullit. He was a contender for the squad too. For me, he really was.
Wow, that number 4, seeing him play for Chelsea, he was absolutely phenomenal. And he's also responsible for bringing the Di Matteos and the Zolas and the Vialis and really, really raised the profile of the club. You know, and took us to the next level. So I'd be remiss without putting Ruud Gullit in.
Also,
go ahead.
First foreign manager to win the cup as well.
Yeah, 16 seconds. Di Matteo, Middlesbrough in on the other side of the bar. What a fucking day, man!
Who scored the second goal?
Oh man, Eddie Newton.
There you go.
A scrappy one, but a good one.
Was Zola with the flick of the back post?
Yeah, what a beautiful, oh man, unbelievable. Middlesbrough, another great football club. We obviously beat them in the League Cup as well. So it was, it'd be nice to see Middlesbrough back in the Premier League eventually, wouldn't it?
Hopefully. I see Bournemouth are coming back up, but no league is perfect.
Exactly. Yeah, Eddie Howe's gone now, so
maybe we'll see Middlesbrough next season. We'll see. There might be one of the two teams that come up with Norwich next year.
Possibly. Two strikers.
Okay.
To finish it off with. One, this next striker I'm picking is because, again, you know where I'm going with this, and anyone listening to this show will know where I'm going with this. After the disappointment with Chris Sutton, we needed that number 9 that could actually give us the goals that we thought we would get. And you know where I'm going with this.
Our last truly great number 9.
Without a shadow of a doubt, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, and still proper Chelsea to this day. You see him on Sky Sports.
Love him on punditry.
Great little manager too. He's done great things at Burton. But Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was a man that I just wanted to be. You know what I mean? When I started playing, I used to just practice my shots from long range every day. My poor old brother, who's actually going to be watching this, and my cousin Bean will remember this. I'd have them in goal out in the little circle that we used to play football, and I'd be like taking 20 yarders to try and build the power in the shots. You know, the man was absolutely unbelievable. 20 shots before he'd score one, but that doesn't matter because
that hat trick against Spurs will always be the one for me.
And the scariest eyes you've ever seen, the scariest stare you've ever seen in a human being, the man would actually, and like, he literally was built like a pro wrestler. He was only 5'10", but the set of traps and shoulders on him, and his legs were just literally tree trunks. Absolute mountain of a man. I love Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Was so disappointed when Mourinho got rid of him. Was hoping.
And also a striker that we did well to get, because I'm not wrong, he went from Leeds to Atletico Madrid for decent money, and then I think within a season he was at Chelsea.
Atletico got relegated that year. We got him for 15 million. But Jimmy actually wanted to sign for Chelsea ahead of Atletico, but Leeds wouldn't obviously sell to a direct rival. That was at a times where you didn't sell to direct rivals, just, for a buck. And so we got him on the second time of asking, and he was our top scorer. I mean, he won the Golden Boot, I think, twice.
I think so, yeah. I think he won it in
he won it in his first season anyway.
Yeah.
In 1999, the 1999-2000 season. And obviously that was the season that Vialli brought him in and signed Ida Gudjohnsen for $4 million from Bolton, another legend who
I love those two together, man.
Almost wanted to put Gudjohnsen, somewhere in this whole squad, but unfortunately, needs must. But Gudjohnsen's an honourable mention for me anyway. Any day of the week, another proper Chelsea, So Jimmy's there, and then of course it's Kerry Dixon.
Yeah, has to be Kerry Dixon.
Love the man, absolutely love the man. I almost would have put Jason Cundy in there somewhere even though he didn't have the best Chelsea career other than the halfway line, but still, there's proper Chelsea if ever we saw proper Chelsea. But
A
unfortunately,
player, a player who I'll give a last honourable mention to, who I really wanted to put in the squad, but I just couldn't find a place, and it broke my heart to leave him out, was Joey Cole.
yeah, listen, no argument from me. Love him. Arjen Robben was almost going to be in there, but I didn't think he stayed with us long enough.
Yeah, I think the Arjen Robben of Munich would have been in that team, but he wasn't the Arjen Robben of Chelsea. I think his first season, we saw the best of Rob. He was just too injury prone. I think he was too slight.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those. But yeah, that's a pretty good. That's a pretty good 11 on both sides, right?
We'll play them against the worst 11 now.
Yeah, 100%. Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been good fun.
Thanks for coming on. I'm sure we're going to do another one next week at some point. We might have some fun doing some of these shows because, at times when we're just constantly following the news, it's nice to take a break and bring some nostalgia back to Chelsea fans. And it's definitely done that for me. So we'll come up with something else that that fans can get involved in. And I'd love to hear back from some of the older fans and some of the younger fans now as well, and let us know your 11s. What player was the one that made you fall in love with Chelsea? Was it the obvious Frank Lampard, or was it the likes of?
It was for me.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Whereas I'd already, I was there when we first signed Lampard, and I was like, oh, but this guy. But
11 million well spent.
Hell yeah. But for me, this is my 11 and your 11, and it's great hearing the different reasons for both sets of teams. And like we say, no disrespect to the players that were on the worst 11, but unfortunately we got to call it out.
We say it as we say. I think it's testament as well, because obviously we got differences of opinions with players. I think it's testament, though, the fact that our worst 11s were so similar.
Yeah.
Extremely similar.
Yeah. Very, very similar. So, well, look, Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we will no doubt see you on the Roar again very, very soon.
Absolutely, looking forward to it. Once I go to sleep tonight and have PTSD dreams about that worst 11, it'll be good to go once I've recovered.
Exactly. And of course, if you are watching the show, you know by now what you need to do by helping us out. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell notification. They are the most important things you can do. And follow us on Twitter. Have a chinwag. This is what we do. We like the banter. Let's do it. But until next time, for me, Ian Kelly, your host, for my co-host, Alex Byrne, we are over and out. And don't forget to keep the blue flag flying high. Come on, Chelsea.